of North East Lincolnshire, Councillor Marion Boyd.
At the time of writing, apologies for absence have been received from Madam Mayor, Councillor Goodwin, and from Councillors Brooks, Clough, Emerson, Jervis, Micklesborough, Haggis, Henderson, Morland and Wilson.
Thank you. We wish both Madam Mayor and Councillor Brooks a speedy recovery. I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of the Council to pass on our best wishes to both. Item 2, Declaration of Interest. Are there any declarations of interest from members in any item on the agenda for this meeting? Thank you. Item 3, Local Government Reorganisation, submission of the proposal for North East Lincolnshire. Consider a report from the Leader of the Council and Portfolio Holder for Economy, Regeneration, Devolution and Skills, setting out a proposal to the Government on local government reorganisation. Councillor Jackson, will you propose the recommendations in this report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor, and I rise to propose the report in front of members tonight and the submission that I hope you will agree that we will put in for from North East Lincolnshire Council with regard to local government reorganisation. Just a reminder to members that it's actually a decision, a cabinet decision to submit this document, and it was approved by cabinet earlier on this afternoon with a recommendation to council for council hopefully to endorse the document. You will see from the report that there will be delegated powers to the leader and interim chief executive to make any minor amendments which might be required from discussions tonight or any other minor amendments that members might see prior to the submission date, which is the 28th of November at the latest. I'd just like to start, Madam Mayor, by thanking officers for the amount of work that they've put into putting forward what I hope you will agree is an excellent submission document. This was work done over and above the day job. It wasn't work that they particularly requested. It was work that was dictated by government requirements. And a huge amount of work's been put in, not only within the authority, but also liaising with the two other upper tier councils across the Greater Lincolnshire footprint. I would also like to thank group leaders for the constructive way that we've all worked together on getting this document and this proposal into the state that you see tonight. It's been a very useful experience in terms of collaboration between group leaders. Members will remember that it was a settled will of this council that we argue for North East Lincolnshire to continue within its existing boundaries. And I think you'll agree that this submission puts over a compelling case for that. It highlights the scale of our ambitions and it also details the initiatives that we've already successfully delivered, but also demonstrates how our proposal aligns with the government's objectives for local reform. It also sets out in some detail the progress that we've made locally in attracting new business and industry to North East Lincolnshire, and the progress that we are making with major regeneration schemes in both Grimsby and Cleethorpes. Madam Deputy Mayor, a key focus of the report, and indeed the government's objectives with regard to local government reorganisation, is to try and save money. Over the years, North East Lincolnshire has already instigated major efficiencies, and the financial analysis that's included within the submission makes it clear there are not the savings to be made that the government may think by combining North East Lincolnshire with other councils. And I hope members will just forgive me if I do read out a couple of paragraphs from the covering report which deal with finance, because I think it is very important. So paragraph 5.2, based upon independent financial analysis, the financial case for the creation of a larger Northern Lincolnshire authority covering the existing geographies of North East Lincolnshire and North Lincolnshire is weak. The analysis indicates that the transitional costs are likely to be significant, with realistic estimates ranging from 34 to 47 million pounds, dependent on future configuration and policy decisions. Furthermore, the scope for additional efficiency savings is limited and estimated to be less than 1% of the combined existing net revenue budget of the two councils. This partly reflects the fact that both councils have already realised financial benefits through existing collaboration, shared systems and joint procurement frameworks. And then paragraph 5.3 goes on to say, it is estimated that the payback period for any new authority would be a minimum of 7 to 12 years, with no prospect of net financial benefit within 5 years. Any proposed reorganisation would impose substantial upfront costs, deliver only marginal further efficiencies, and risk destabilising two well-performing councils. I think that fairly convincingly discharges the economic arguments. I think there's no doubt that major savings can be made within the Lincolnshire County Council footprint area by reducing the number of councils in that area from 8 to 1, if that was to become a single unitary authority. And that's certainly the area in which major financial savings could be made. I understand and support the government's aim of dismantling the two-tier system. I'm not a fan of that by any means, and that will result in consolidation, realising economies of scale and making financial savings. We also engaged with locally with electors and businesses to ascertain their views on the current arrangements for local government in the area. And we received about 1,400 responses, which was a very positive level of response. 94% of those who responded agreed on the need for local authorities to be able to make decisions locally. 78% supported North East Lincolnshire remaining with its current boundaries, and only 16% wanted a larger local government footprint. The proposal also clearly sets out the risks associated with any potential reorganisation, in particular the potential disruption it would cause. Disaggregation of our major services is of particular concern. We now have children's services service area which is rated as good, and we have very effective adult social care arrangements with a local Section 75 arrangement with the NHS and our delivery partners. If we were to undergo local government reorganisation, these are two key areas which would have to be disaggregated and could lead to major disruption and threats to delivery of services. The proposal set out before you tonight also details the growing commonality of approach between Lincolnshire County Council and the two existing unitary councils for a 3 unitary model for the Greater Lincolnshire footprint. So that would be Lincolnshire County Council and districts becoming 1 unitary, with North East Lincolnshire and North Lincolnshire Council remaining within their current boundaries. And indeed, both North Lincolnshire Council and Lincolnshire County Council have council meetings over the next few days to discuss a similar way forward. So, Madam Deputy Mayor, I hope members will agree that the submission we have in front of us tonight is an excellent one. A lot of work's been put into it. There's a huge amount of detail in there. I think it puts over the case very well for maintaining North East Lincolnshire Council within its current footprint, and I hope members will be able to wholeheartedly support the proposal tonight. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Shreve, will you second the motion?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I rise to second the motion and reserve the right to speak.
Thank you. Do we have any speakers? Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's good to see us united on this issue as a council, in stark contrast to where we were back in February of this year, and I think that meeting back in February did act as a catalyst for change and was perhaps a wake-up call for us all. We now have a vision for the borough for the future, a borough that will still hopefully exist, not just in 2 years' time, but in 10 years' time. I've always seen this as needing a step-by-step approach that engages with the system. Governments of any stripe do not like insurrection or defiance, particularly governments whose authority is under scrutiny. And history shows us that our track record on open rebellion isn't great. The Lincolnshire Rebellion of 1470 lasted little more than a week, and the Lincolnshire Uprising of 1537 didn't have any more success and resulted in the Vicar of Louth being hanged at Tyburn, and a lawyer, Thomas Moyne, was hung, drawn and quartered for his involvement. A salutary lesson perhaps for all monitoring officers and council chaplains up to that. King Henry VIII described Lincolnshire at that time as the most brute and beastly shire of the whole realm, and he had never even visited Blundell Park to watch town at home to Lincoln City. To persuade government to agree with what we are proposing will not be easy. This is going to be an uphill battle, a real uphill struggle. And I think success will rely significantly on 3 factors. Firstly, the inarguable economic legitimacy of our position that we can confidently present. Secondly, being able to demonstrate the overwhelming support of residents, businesses, the voluntary sector, and the backing of our local members of parliament. Our recent engagement with local stakeholders is clear evidence that our position has the support we need. And I think we should all be proud, actually, of the feedback from residents, which shows that the overwhelming majority support the status quo. That is in many ways a vote of confidence in the local democratic process. If huge numbers of people had said instead that they want to see change, then we might as well call it a day and look for alternatives. And the third factor, but perhaps the most important, is a unified council position, both from a political and officer perspective. And on that note, I would like to endorse the leader's comments. I would like to pay tribute to the hard work of council officers who have excelled themselves in producing such a compelling proposal to support the political position. We are lucky in this borough to have so many dedicated council staff who are passionate in their work and whose own internal professional standards drives performance. I would like to particularly note the continuing efforts of the interim chief executive, who has, quietly, striven to promote a lockstep approach on this issue between the political group leaders and her own leadership team. She has kept group leaders informed and consulted with us at every step of the way, and in doing so has helped achieve the political consensus that we see tonight. The leader also has taken a very inclusive approach, and I thoroughly commend him for that. A polite message to other politicians across Lincolnshire, particularly within the district councils. If your plans for local government reorganisation involve our borough merging with other areas, please come and talk to us first and understand our position. I hope that this proposal is endorsed tonight, and I hope that government also accepts this proposal, even if only on the basis that there will be limited time within this Parliament to achieve all their local government reorganisation ambitions, and they have much bigger fish to fry. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holland. Do we have any other speakers? Councillor Aisthorpe. Sorry, Councillor Patrick and then Councillor Aisthorpe. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor, and welcome to the chair. Wow, how do I follow that from that for the previous speaker? I fully support the report and the intent to keep the borough as it stands. I'm thoroughly convinced, and my group are as well, that this is the best footprint that we could be operating on that's there available to us. It's local, it has a community focus, and because of the size of our borough, which is somewhat of a challenge because we know our borough is not all urban. There are some quite sweeping rural areas with pockets of low population density. I think it's perfectly fair to say that we are all at least fairly familiar with most of the corners of our borough, which we might not necessarily be if we're operating on a much larger footprint. And yes, over the years, despite the challenges we've actually faced, we have managed to successfully punch above our weight on a huge number of issues. And again, I echo the point as well. I'm very glad that we've come a long way since February from the position that was taken. And I think that's a lesson to us all, that when you play politics with the future of our borough, it can go fundamentally wrong. And tonight we've finally got a position that we can all have a consensus on. As we all know, North East Lincolnshire was actually born on the 1st of June, 1996. And there was a lot of scepticism at the time as to whether or not this borough could survive, carved out of the old Humberside. And many still are sceptical if it's right for us in this area. But I'm convinced that we've faced hard challenges. We've achieved where others were sceptical if we would actually do so. And whatever North East Lincolnshire is, it is our home and it's worth fighting for. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Patrick. Councillor Aisthorpe.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. This is one of those rare issues where we're not divided. Group leaders have worked together constructively on this proposal, and I think that in itself says something important. We've shown what can happen when politics takes a step back and common sense takes the lead, and that's exactly how local government should work. I also want to take this opportunity to thank council officers for their time and care they've put into developing this proposal with group leaders and bringing it to this stage. Madam Mayor, there's a lot of national talk about creating a new larger council to serve 500,000 people or more. But here in North East Lincolnshire, we've already experienced both the larger and smaller local authority models, and we know that bigger isn't better for our area. I'm sure no one here will claim everything is perfect. There's always more to do, but in many ways, we've already delivered the kind of outcomes that local government reorganisation is meant to achieve, and we've done it through a smaller local model. Madam Mayor, this proposal clearly shows that another upheaval now wouldn't move us forward. It would clearly set us back. It would risk undoing years of steady progress, disrupt essential services and divert millions of pounds away from residents in the cost of restructuring. When we moved from being part of the much larger Humberside County Council in 1996 to becoming a smaller, more local authority, it brought government closer to residents with clearer accountability, stronger community connections and greater efficiency in how we deliver services. And central government doesn't just need to take our word for it, because a larger number of local people took part in our survey, and a majority told us clearly that they want decisions made here by people who know this area, not by a distant mega council. They want local authority to remain as it is. Madam Mayor, we've worked constructively on this proposal with our neighbouring councils, and that collaboration will certainly continue. But it also shows that we don't need to merge with North Lincolnshire Council to work effectively together, because we're already doing it while keeping our local identity and decision making where it belongs. That's the kind of local government residents deserve, and it's the kind we should protect. This proposal before us does exactly that, and it has the full support of the local Liberal Democrats. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Easthorpe. Councillor Freeston.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I may not particularly agree with many of you in this room, but I think it's really important that locally we are the ones to make decisions, and that's why I was happy to support the independents in bringing the motion a few months ago to compel council and to implore the cabinet to go back on their decision to originally almost endorse government's decision to try and amalgamate massive areas and make super council. So I would like to say genuine thanks to Councillor Jackson for not doubling down on what I think was an error, a misjudgment, an error of his ways. And I think that it takes a lot of courage as a leader to admit sometimes that you will make decisions and you get them wrong. And it takes, you know, a bigger man to stand up and say, no, we do need to change course. So I commend him for that. Of course, I'd like to say thank you to council officers, because no doubt this has been a headache and a lot of work that's gone into doing it. But I do think that we need to look at Councillor Jackson's suggestion at the start about any minor adjustments. Would it be possible for the leader just to spell out exactly what he meant by minor amendments that might need to be made to the papers that are set out, just so we can be confident that those minor amendments might not actually materially affect the proposal that we're supporting? But other than that, I fully support it, because I think local decision making has to be that indeed local. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any other speakers? Councillor Shreve.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I did reserve the right to speak, but it looks like everybody's said their piece already. I will not add to the comments that have been made by the group leaders. The report highlights the marginal benefits of any consolidation, and also emphasises the risks of that. Not forgetting the £47 million, which would be better spent on local services rather than deconsolidating existing services. I'd simply add that whilst we are significantly smaller than the guideline, we are perfectly formed despite our day-to-day frustrations on a number of issues. And don't forget that we are held up as an exemplar in Westminster as a local authority that produces and performs. And whilst we are asking a great deal because we are that much smaller, I personally experienced Minister McMahon when we talked to them about Greater Lincolnshire, and they did demonstrate a flexibility on that point, and I hope they will again. And in closing, let's not forget the Grimsby test, a Westminster device that encourages pioneering development in our borough to test some of their schemes. If it works in Grimsby, it will work anywhere, they say. I repeat my support for this and second the recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Shreve. Councillor Jackson will write a reply.
Yes, thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor, and thank you to speakers we've had tonight who've wholeheartedly supported the proposal that's in front of us. I have to say, I was a little bit concerned about the history that Councillor Holland set out about what's happened to people who've previously rebelled against government decisions, and I'm a bit worried it might not be the monitoring officer that come for it. It might be the leader of the council, but we'll just have to cross that bridge when we come to it. But seriously, no, it's been a helpful. Well, it's not really been a debate tonight, has it? Because we've all pretty well been in agreement. And thanks to Councillor Freeston for the comments that he made as well. With regard to minor amendments, if members spot any typographical errors, and I did find one a couple of days ago, those are the sort of changes we're talking about, or clarification on a couple of the charts that are set out in the report, and a slight improvement to layout as well. Those sort of things. We won't make any changes that substantially affect the message that's being put over in the document, but I'm sure once we've got the final document, that will be circulated to all members anyway, along with just a summary of any amendments that have been made from the document that you see in front of you tonight, if that's satisfactory. But I'm pleased that we're all singing from the same hymn sheet on this one, and I look forward to the response that we do eventually get from government, which I understand will be sort of towards the middle of next year. So we've got a while to wait. But I think our case is substantially strengthened by the fact that, you know, all the upper tier councils across the Greater Lincolnshire footprint are putting over a common proposal, and I think that will be. I'm hoping that will be compelling with government to enable us to stay as we are. I think the government has perhaps bitten off more than it can chew with local government reorganisation. As I said earlier on, I can understand why it wants to tackle the two-tier areas, but I'm hoping it will think that that's perhaps enough to be going on with, and let North and North East Lincolnshire continue with the progress they've been making over recent years, and allow us to progress further with the plans that we already have in place. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Leader. And we now go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Do I need to just check if there are any against? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. So we have item 4, urgent business. The independent group has requested an update from the portfolio holder for housing, infrastructure and transport on the Corporation Bridge refurbishment project. Councillor Swinburne, please would you provide an update?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I'm asked by full council to update it as to the progress of the works to Corporation Road Bridge, with emphasis on the financial and contractual issues. Prior to that, Madam Mayor, I think I must make a first statement to say that I'm very disappointed in Councillor Bright and the independent group for wanting to bring this now when scrutiny, the Tish scrutiny panel, have been kept fully informed all the way along. Even at a previous one on the 29th of October, Tish were fully employed and a presentation given by officers, and it was unanimously voted, which Councillor Bright, also one of those people, actually voted for. We're going to the option 1, which was to continue with it. And there's also, Madam Mayor, a further Tish meeting next week. So I can't see why he has to bring another one in the middle of those 2 meetings when he's had the further information. It makes me wonder, Madam Deputy Mayor, whether scrutiny is relevant. We say that scrutiny does its job and we are open and transparent, and I think that's been all the way along over the issue with Corporation Road Bridge. So I'm a little bit disappointed, Madam Mayor, in the way that this has been brought as a matter of urgent business. Therefore, Madam Mayor, scrutiny supported and recommended to Cabinet the full closure of the bridge once works were completed. This, as I have already mentioned, was option 1. Cabinet agreed, and on that basis temporarily lifted the expenditure cap it had previously imposed and directed officers to award to Tazica. Madam Deputy Mayor, the Cabinet decision notice has been published and circulated as usual. The minutes of these meetings have also been published, which is normal. Tazica have since begun mobilisation and matters have commenced. We're now a week or so into the new contract. That is the update, Madam Mayor. There's no further from the update given to Tish on the 29th of October. It is, Madam Mayor, I have some further information on the financial and contractual matters, but that is exempt business. And to update you on that, we must move into a closed session. I would therefore, Madam Deputy Mayor, propose that we move into a closed session and that members of the press and the public are excluded. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Swinburne. Do I have a seconder?
I rise to second that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. All those in favour of exclusion? Proposal is to move to a closed. Yes, that's fine. You're going to go first.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to tell you that I'm actually unsure about this proposal to actually exclude the press and public at this stage, and I'll outline for my reasons the moral conundrums that I've got, because this is very much a matter in the issue of public interest, and we should be displaying as much transparency as possible. And we've opened up this debate with the portfolio holder having his say on all this and telling everybody who he's disappointed within the room, and yet his first act is to try to exclude press and public so that none of us have got an opportunity to even respond to that. But the public are asking many questions about this, and rightly so. And not least, when is the bridge going to be reopened, but how much has been spent so far? They want answers to that. How much could the cost rise to? Could this have been avoided? And where does accountability actually lie in any of this? And we can't actually have this discussion if we actually do exclude press and public. And whilst I appreciate the need, if we're going to be discussing third-party contracts and quite technical issues, to do that in a private session, we should be having an honest conversation about the accountability of our own organisation, our own people, and what's actually happened here. And I'm no stranger to actually being quite critical of contract management within this organisation, both at the audit committee and other places where our partnerships and organisations with third parties have been, shall we say, less than spectacular. And but the big question I get from my residents is at this stage, because we know this has been absolutely shameful and disgraceful, is anybody actually going to be held to account from this? And the fact is that the portfolio holder's position is untenable. He needs to go. He needs to bring some dignity back to this issue as soon as.
Thank you very much, Councillor Patrick. Councillor Freeston.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That was actually what I was going to stand up and propose. I think that this issue has run on for so long now. I think to exclude press and public would send quite the wrong message that we're trying to cover something up. We definitely need to keep this in open session.
Councillor Holland.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to explain why we thought this needed to come to full council on an urgent basis. So, if we look at the history to date, and
on a point of order, Madam Mayor, we're discussing whether or not we should go into closed session, not the history of why it's been referred to full council or the history of the project.
I'm getting there, Madam Mayor. So what I suggest is that what we need to demonstrate to the public, given the history, is that we take this matter extremely seriously and are discussing it at full council in this chamber, all members, at the very earliest opportunity. And it is one of the top items in our agenda. Let me quote a local business, just to give some context of why this was brought under urgent business and why we should stay in public sessions. Quote from a local business.
Councillor Holland, I'm sorry to interrupt, but can we please focus on why we're not moving to a private session?
Yeah, it's public confidence in terms of why the public should hear what we're talking about. And I'm quoting a local business because it's relevant to what I'm saying. Okay.
Thank you.
This year has been one of the hardest years for me, said Mr. Sidhu, whose family has owned the corner shop for 45 years. Some days I come in and think maybe I need a career change. Other shops in the area are in the same boat, but it's like no one cares. And the reason why we've brought it here tonight, and I think that there will be some stuff that needs to be in closed session, but some of the argument needs to be in open session, is because there is a public attitude that no one cares. So what I wanted to do tonight, and I'm talking about now why we should be in open session, okay, was to produce some very sensible proposals, actually, to take this forward on a cross-party basis that could come back to full council in 4 weeks' time. So we would come back in 4 weeks' time.
Councillor, you just need to focus on why you don't want to move into closed session, not what you'd like to happen in the
Okay.
future.
Okay, and again, I think that should have been in open session and not in closed session. But I've made my points as why I think we should be in open session for this part of the discussion, to give the independent group an opportunity to explain why this has come on an emergency basis. And I can't see any reason why we couldn't do that. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. Councillor Humphrey. So long as it's to do with.
Indeed, yes. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I appreciate the arguments on both sides here. Thank you. I think one of the important factors here is this has come as an item of urgent business. And for Councillor Swinburne to talk about it, it's great he's given a summary, but it feels a little bit rushed, a bit premature of him to say, and I'd like us now to move to exempt for similar reasons as some of the other speakers have said. I actually attended as an observer at the recent scrutiny meeting. I was a bit surprised that he, as the portfolio holder, chose not to speak there and then and give more information. That's his
Point of order, Madam Mayor, if you don't mind. I was advised not to speak at that meeting because there was a full presentation by officers. It wasn't my decision.
I'll take that on board. Thank you, Councillor. Like I say, I was genuinely surprised he didn't speak. He's given his reasons for that. But now he's had the opportunity to speak, I don't think we should rush to a closed session without at least having some sort of discussion of these matters as to why it's come here today. I think it would be premature for us to even take the vote. I think it's good that members from most of the parties here have had a say as to why that is premature and why they would either oppose it or be worried that, as I say, it's premature. If we have the debate, then why rush to the vote? That's my view. Thank you.
I think I need to go back to the portfolio holder. No?
Proposals to move into closed session.
Right.
Any other speakers on moving into closed session?
Okay. Any other speakers on moving into closed session? So we'll take it to a vote. Those for moving into a closed session.
Indicate very clearly, please.
And those against? Any abstentions?
Voted 417 against 15, so we're now moving to closed session.
Thank you very much. So we now exclude members of the public and the press.